Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Jim. How are you? Welcome
Good.
back.
Well, yeah, welcome to Community Connect with Gerwin and Pash, but in this case, Big Dave replacing Gerwin for week number 2. How are you feeling, Dave? A little nervous about, this new pattern, this new job gig you got going on with me?
I'll be nervous if I get an email after this for week 3.
That's okay. I think I saw a Gerwin Facebook post kind of saying, oh, look, a guy leaves for 10 days and all of a sudden he loses his position on a podcast. So
He did not lose his position. I'm barely keeping this seed warm for him, and you'll see Gerwin back next week. I'm pretty sure. But it's been a great opportunity. Thank you.
I appreciate having you and you jumping in for us. Anything exciting happened for you in the past week?
No. Easter break is over for the kids. They're back to school and back to work and just living life. How about you? What you been up to?
I don't know. What have I been up to? Yeah, well, I just actually returned from a conference. I went to Las Vegas, and yes, it was for work. I don't care what you have to say about that. I did a lot of work and learning about the industry, the demographics, and some of those conversations will come up tonight, this morning, with Sarah. But yeah, it was back to back to back. You're bombarded by information overload. So I'll decompress and split up all my notes probably over the weekend, which I'm sure sounds a lot of fun to everybody else.
And I was going to ask you, how is your arm feeling? But you don't do that anymore. So it's just push button now.
I don't do slots. Never did slots. You know that. The poker. I did find one session of poker. I did find, yes, but that's all we're going to talk about for that. Well, without further ado, let's no one came here for us, Dave, right? I mean, maybe your mom might be watching for you. My mom might be like, oh, look at my beautiful son with the great head of hair. But anyway, most people did not come for us. So let's dive right in with our guest, Sarah Moore. And we both know Sarah on another level. We'll just get that out of the way. You and I both played rugby here in Rochester, and we met Sarah through that journey. She was a terrific, and still is actually, a returning rugby player and a leader on the field and in life. So, but what we have her here for today is what she does for a living. Her company, she is a COO with Lawson Company. She's a seasoned entrepreneur and project director with a passion for creating inclusive communities. And she, as a co-founder of W Lawson, she leads strategic consulting and community development initiatives with a focus on equity in aging, which is what we'll focus on today. She's a board treasurer of Communities of Inclusion and Belonging. Sarah works on innovative models for inclusive communities catering to older adults, intergenerational families, and caregivers. She's currently working to develop an intergenerational community model at a historically Black college or university. And beyond her professional pursuits, we just talked a little bit about her rugby career, but she's also a mother of 2. She enjoys coaching the rugby and volunteering with Girl Scout leaders and hiking in the Adirondacks. And her family is key to all of that. So we'll now bring Sarah.
Good morning.
Sarah, good morning. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good to see you both here.
Yes,
great as well. So, Sarah, it's great to have you. Before we get into all the nitty gritty of all the great information you have to offer the listeners, let's just talk about you. How have you gotten to this, this journey you've taken up to this point to where you are?
Yeah, so I the word that I like to use for describing how I've gotten to where I am today is kind of circuitous. I definitely never expected to be doing this work. I don't think when I was young, I don't think I had any concept of there being a career in aging services. It was just something that wasn't on my radar. But I went to college for landscape architecture, and my passion there was in community planning. And I always thought that I would want to do something with that. So I did that, played a lot of rugby, got a job in landscaping and quickly became a project manager, and realized that I really like process improvement and business development and all of the business side of organizations. So I did project management for a long time. And then I was recruited to join an organization in aging services. And as soon as I started learning about that, I realized that I am really passionate about it and I really enjoy it. And I like doing good work that can improve people's lives. So a coworker of mine and myself would engage in these side conversations about like, someone should really be doing something about this, and why don't they do better for the diversity program, and why don't they why don't they do X, Y, and Z? And then we both found ourselves with an opportunity to branch out on our own and realize kind of that why we could be those people. Why not us? So we started the W Lawson organization, and that's how I got to where I am now.
Awesome. So in some people's stories, my story switching careers was something that happened in my family. I just saw kind of how you described, you never thought you would be doing blank. So I was wondering if there's anything like that. Was there anything that you saw other than just that chance flow into the aging? Was there anything else personal that you may have seen as well that may have kind of, if you had to justify how you got here? Is there anything like that?
Yeah. The pandemic definitely played a part in it. It was really difficult to have 2 young kids home and not knowing how to help them with virtual school, and trying to do work that required me to go into an office sometimes. And my employer at that time really tried to be accommodating, but it just got to a point where it was like, I don't know if I can do this. So I took a long break, and it was during that time that I got this other opportunity to sort of shift gears and move into a different space. So yeah, definitely my family also played a part in that. I think the pandemic was disruptive for a lot of people, maybe not in such great ways for many people, but I've heard stories from a lot of people who have said that it was kind of like the big shift that they needed to move them up off their butt to do something different that they'd been thinking about for a while.
I agree with that 1000%. Dave, any thoughts? Any questions there?
Well, I like to dive into what you're doing, and are you reaching, like, I guess my question is, and if I apologize for my ignorance on how do you reach out to groups? Do groups find you? How is that connection from what you guys are providing to the community and the people in the community being able to get to it? Or how do you guys work on matching that up?
So I will back up a little bit and explain how we decided to offer what we're offering. And I'm going to shoot some facts out at you guys, because I think that this is part of why we decided that this is so important that we pursue this. There is a big demographic shift coming up in the aging population. In 2040, there will be 81 million older adults. That's 65 and over. That's a 44% increase. That's really significant. Of those, 28 million will be people of color. That's over a third. And, there's a lot of other identity factors that are changing. Right now, baby boomers, only 8% identify as LGBTQ+, and Gen X, that number is 18%. And it only grows with each generation. And in long-term services and supports, those were in general kind of created by and for what was the status quo back in the day. And that's white people, it's straight people, so-called traditional families. And that's just not the reality anymore. And it's not for the reasons of it being the right thing to do to promote equity, but also the logistical reasons of there's a huge influx in market share coming towards us, and we better do something about it. So my business partner and I, his name's Marvell Adams, and hopefully he's watching right now. We kind of wanted to look at what our talents were and what our resources were. And so in doing so, we decided that there were 4 things that we could do, that like offerings that we could have. And so we do thought leadership, which is kind of like speaking engagements, teaching, just spreading knowledge in whatever way we can. We do consultations and process improvement programs at organizations. So that's kind of where my background in project management comes in. And we do community development. And that's the project that you mentioned, Jim, about the historically Black colleges and universities. We received a grant to develop a program there, and we're hoping that we can someday get it built. And then finally, our Longevity and Inclusion Alliance Fellowship Program, which is the most interactive thing that we offer. And that is, it's all virtual except for the retreat, which, Jim, you're coming to next week. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do these monthly in-depth meetings where we discuss some tough topics, and the way that it's different than other DEI programs is that we are really action-based. We insist on, we're not just going to talk about it, do the internal work, and then I'll walk away being like, yeah, that's all great ideas. People are forming a plan and turning that into action. So we have our meetings, and then we cap off the 6-month session with a retreat where everyone can go and talk and be together. We've got some amazing speakers coming up. So yeah, those are the 4 aspects of what we offer. And I don't know if that answered your question, Dave, but
it does. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So my question, just kind of to build on that, is that it sounds like prior to us having a conversation, me looking up the company and all that, I was not aware as much about the topic of, I know DEI is a hot buzz acronym, right? So that's there. But I'm wondering now, is this kind of a growing, more people understanding this future demographic shift, and
God,
more and more
so.
people understanding that?
I mean, I hope that people are realizing that this is not just a buzzword or a reason for people to get into political arguments. It's a real legitimate thing that deserves our attention and thoughtfulness. And like I said before, it's equity and promoting equity, promoting inclusion. Why wouldn't we want to include everyone? Why wouldn't we want to have diversity that represents our population? It's the right thing to do, but it's also, I think that any organization right now that isn't really taking a hard look at themselves, they're setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I love what you said about the end part of your workshops, for example, is having this plan. You met together. Did you just do this to check a box and say we have done this, or have you implemented things? So I think that's a huge part of the whole goal of what you have going on. So.
Yeah, and we strive to help people identify where their challenges are and where they can make a difference. And you can do that a huge variety of ways. You can use data analysis, you can use surveys, you can have conversations. There's a lot of ways to inventory where you stand now and identify the gap between where you want to be and where you are today, and then set goals that allow you to close that gap.
So if there's a company or an individual watching, right, and they saw the topic and I was like, oh, okay, let me check into that. What would you recommend if I'm an individual person in a small agency that's growing, and we certainly don't have a layout, and I'm sure there's other companies or individual people starting their business. Where do you begin? What's your suggestion for where you begin to get prepared to address these things in a productive and adequate way?
Well, I mean, anyone that is watching or listening that has that question, please feel free to reach out to me. And I think you've got my contact information to share. I'm happy to help. I'm someone that I'll help anyone, whether it's, there's something in it for me or not. So, and it's the right thing to do. So I'm happy to guide anyone on their beginning of their journey, middle of their journey, deep far in, or just be a thought partner with those people. So I would say contact me if you are comfortable doing that and you want to. But I think doing the internal work of understanding why this is important, that needs to be done, but also setting up the structures. So whether that's policy or process, they go hand in hand. So you need to address both of those things.
Terrific. Are there any Facebook groups or anything like that where this topic is just something that if someone chimed in quickly, is there something like that?
That is a really good question, and I don't know the answer to that question. We have a bit of a presence on LinkedIn, and that's something that we would like to build more and do more, like webinars and virtual sessions and things that are easily accessible for people that are starting to dip their toes in and trying to orient themselves so where they can begin. But yeah, I'm not aware of Facebook groups, but I'm sure that they do exist.
Or maybe they will after this show if someone decides to, Dave, any follow-ups to that?
Yes. As you progress through, are there expectations, goals? Are you looking to reach more individuals, connect more on the business side? Obviously, there's a connection between both of those. But as you talked about small businesses or large businesses, is there a niche that you're looking to build into or grow into that would set yourself apart, set your organization apart, or be a key item that you want to focus on?
Well, I think anyone within the field of aging services, or we say in the field or adjacent to. So we have people in our group that are tech companies, we have architects. So people that you don't have to be working at a nursing home to be benefiting from this kind of information. But anyone that creates things for the aging population or has anyone in the aging population as their customer base, I think that's who our target market is. And how we are differentiating ourselves, I think we know our strengths, we know our limitations, and that's kind of why we developed those, like that 4-pronged approach with what we offer at the moment. And we want to do as much good as we can, and it's sort of like an exponential growth we found just after this first couple of years of the more people we meet, the more connections we make, the more information we get, the more partners we have, and we can do more. Like for example, we are partnering with a small organization called Art Against Ageism, and they do some really cool art installations. They teach art classes. They do a photo booth where you own your age, and they set that up at conferences. So you go and you write your age on like a little blackboard and get your picture taken, and there's a hashtag and stuff. And you'd be surprised at how many people, especially conferences for aging services, where people are like, oh, I don't want to I don't want anyone to know my age. And it's like, no, this is the whole point. We're fighting
Right.
back against ageism. So, you know, that's another kind of thing where we had a lot of aligned goals and values. And so we're partnering with them and doing some projects with them. But that just then will probably lead to meeting more people and getting more ideas. So we are where we are right now, but we know that growth is happening now and will continue to happen in the future.
That's great. It always takes time, but it's great. Good to hear.
Yeah, no, I relate to the infancy period, like as me, you know, I relate on so much of what you said, actually, with the COVID kind of looking in the mirror and kind of reassessing and like saying, well, we now are being shown the absolute shortness and valuable time, you know, that life has, right? And then you're just kind of confronted with that. And then you say, okay, so really, have I been living the values that mean a lot to me, or have I just been waking up, punching a clock just because it's the right thing to do? So I relate on that, but the last part you just were talking about, where, you know, you throw out there your mission, and that's what I hear from you, is that you're throwing out your mission, the value statements, what it is that you're trying to impact in our society. And guess what happens? It's like a magnet, like people who have and share, you will quickly sort through. And that's really how I was like, man, I don't know anything about longevity, you know, and equity, but I mean, but I do know about the aging community now that I'm in the Medicare world, right? I see poverty. I've seen that as a teacher in the inner city school. I see a lot of those things that kind of you guys are highlighting in a whole nother way. And I was not aware about any of the business aspect side, like as far as, are you aware? Are you doing actions that show that you truly value these topics? We all can say it, right? Everyone can say it, but are they doing it? So I appreciate the work that you guys are doing there.
And by 2040, Jim, you will be 65.
If as long as I make it there, I think that's half the battle. As a rugby player, I'm not sure that I've done what kind of damage I've done. But no, I hope to be, but even if I'm not, I hope that we are part of some changes that will help people who are in that category then to feel more comfortable and represented. So.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many, just on the community building side of things, you guys kind of just reminded me, one of the cool models that I've seen is there's like a punk rock retirement community that they're creating for Gen X. And it's like, you know, the boomers and the greatest generation, that model it exists, and it might not work for us anymore in the future. And we've got to do something different. And whether that's a punk rock community or people having the ability to age in place in their homes, or having communities that are where everybody feels welcome, where your cultural, your culture is honored, and where you can practice your culture comfortably. You know, there's got to be some new thinking to keep up with who's going to be needing that care in 10 years or 20 years.
Well, I could definitely see why when you look at Dave and I, we reminded you of the punk rock side of things. I can definitely tell. We let our hair loose. We just, I don't know.
Maybe we can start the first former rugby player retirement community.
Oh my goodness. Can you? I don't know if I want to. Well, maybe. I think it'd be a lot of curiosity around that. A lot of people would I think. But all right. So as we're getting close to the end of the show, is there anything that either we have not touched upon, or something that you might want to delve more into that we make sure we don't miss? Or have we done a decent job of expressing?
I think that we have done a decent job of expressing what we came here to say today.
Yeah, great. And I know it's really, you can't do justice to everything that you do in 25 minutes. I know that's not possible. Go ahead, Dave.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this retreat?
Yeah.
So
what's happening? What's about? What's going on? I know Jim is very excited. He's mentioned it several times to me. I would love to hear more, and I bet the people watching and viewing this would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our first retreat for our fellows program is next week. and we will have more in the future. So our fellows program, our alpha cohort, is just wrapping up their 6-month program, and this retreat is sort of capping that off. So we have our alpha cohort of, I believe, about 12 people, and then we have the beta cohort, the next set of people in the fellowship program. We've got some people who are attendees who are just interested, and Jim, you're one of those. We've got some really cool speakers. We have Lily Zhang, who I know you're going to ask me questions about books later, but this is one of the, and it's backwards. Well,
no, that's
No,
good. It's good to us. It's good to us.
Yes.
But Lily Zhang is an expert in DEI and action-based DEI. And we're having a variety of, we're going to have some roundtable discussions. We're going to have some facilitated discussions, a fireside chat. We're having a networking event. We are having some lectures on, we're having someone come in and teach people how to use data and analyzing data to sort of benchmark yourself and set goals. So it's going to be a lot of great content. And I'm just really excited to gather together this group of people who all believe in this as being important work to do. So I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about, is just to be in a room full of people that all have the same values and working towards the same stuff. So our beta cohort is starting, I believe, in June, and we do still have spots there. And then so we're planning on doing 2 a year, and each one will be capped off with a in-person retreat, and the rest of the fellowship is all virtual.
Awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Well done. That's why he'll be back. Your email's already being sent, Dave. See you next week. I might be out of a spot here. So, but anyway, thank you, Sarah, for all that. So now we're going to go into our Connect 4. Are you ready for Connect 4?
I think so. You sent me the questions ahead of time, and then I failed to.
That's okay.
Prepare my responses.
It's even better. People are going
to be off the cuff.
Yeah, here we go. So, all right, Dave, you got question 1 for us?
Yes, I do. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh,
you can give a kids and an adult one if you want.
Forensic Files. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it calms me down. If I'm stressed out and anxious, I watch Forensic Files and it calms me down. Something is wrong with me. I don't know what. They haven't diagnosed it yet, but that's my guilty pleasure.
Nice.
And you've kind of hinted on at least one answer to this, but what book or podcast are you going through right now?
So DEI Deconstructed by Lily Zhang. And I've got my stack of books. We were talking earlier about how I'm able to read multiple books at the same time. I've got Power of Place, Aging in Place in Urban Environments. I've got a murder mystery book, Some Choose Darkness. I just finished The Wild Truth, the story about Chris McCandless getting the true story of him getting lost in the wilderness. And I'm just about to start Parable of the Sower. So those are my
Well, you hinted at that before the show, and I was like, I just don't relate to that. My brain can, I can delve into one and get to from the beginning to the end. It might take me some time, but I can't. I don't think I can multitask into multiple books at all. So good for you.
I have 100 tabs open in my brain at all times.
Oh my gosh, I don't have that. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. Question number 3. What is your superpower?
So I was going to say my superpower is that I never give up, but maybe my superpower is that I can read 6 books at a time.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good one. Nice.
And then finally, what is a habit that you believe you need to work on? So maybe not necessarily a horrible bad habit, but something that you just would like to do better at.
I would have to say something that I've been working on for a while and I continue to work on is imposter syndrome. I know a lot of people share that with me, but it's so hard to get over that feeling of who am I to to be saying these things or doing these things, or to be asking people to trust me. And it's a daily battle to overcome that, but I've made a lot of progress, and I think it's something I'll probably be working on for the rest of my life.
Well, I've never heard it actually referred to as that, and I have to say, like, I'm leaving with like goosebumps here, because that's exactly how I feel. I don't know if Dave relates to that, but I mean, especially changing careers, all of a sudden to say, well, who are we to do a podcast? Who would want to hear from just two average people, just kind of sharing what's going on that's good in our community? But it's exactly what you got to get over, because, who are we not to, right? We have every ability to do it. And by the way, if you do go check out different podcasts or different people in different space, you're like, some of these people, you go, I can do that, right? Like they're like, some people are so impressed. You're like, I can never be like them. But others, you're just like, I think that gives me hope that I could be, valuable. So, but I love that. Never heard that phrase.
Yes.
So, all right, Sarah, we appreciate your time today.
Yes.
I will be including your website and LinkedIn. And if there's anything else you'd like us to add later on, I'm always glad to. It'll be up in YouTube land until someone deletes it, so I can always adjust that for you. But thank you so much for taking some time to be with us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Sarah. Great catching up.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to kick you off now. So thanks for everything. All right, Dave, thank you again. I thought that went fantastic. Mm-hmm. Did you feel like we got good information? Or not just that we got good information, but do you feel like we were thorough, or do you think there's anything else we do? Okay?
Yes.
I put you right under pressure. Yeah, of course. You're great. All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate you this is your second week in a row that you've helped us out as being a guest host. I've learned some things from you in like technique and all that. So I appreciate that so much. Especially if a child comes running around in the background, how to kind of mute quickly from last week. That was great. But thank you very much. So everyone who joined us today, we had a few viewers, it looks like, that were live, which is excellent. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on this and any other of the episodes that we have. And I know Sarah very well, and she will respond to you if you have anything directly aimed towards her. W Lawson, I've not met Marvell yet, but I look forward to meeting him. I've done some searches, kind of like stalking in the social media side for that as well. But I look forward to meeting them and seeing them all next week. So we'll see everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.